Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick-Split 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Macco Show, and we'll take you to Pointe-Claire for this one. As you know, it's become a theme on the program over the last little while, taking a look at residential development on the island of Montreal, what is actually happening, what's able to go through, what's not happening. Of course, we've discussed the Blue Bonnet site, by the way, right? And how nothing's happened there, and developers, they don't want to play ball with the city of Montreal and their onerous requirements that the city has for any redevelopment of that area. So let's go to the West Island here. Let's go to what's happening around Fairview, Pointe-Claire, right? And the Cadillac Fairview group that's hoping to develop a real estate project on part of the parking lot at the Fairview Mall. Now, La Presse did a story about this earlier in the week, and you know what I was interested is that they showed an aerial a photograph of the area, right? And they just showed, and I mean, it was amazing because, you know, we mentioned before 50 Shades of Grey, and they showed this area, this immense area where Fairview Mall is. That is, it's just parking lot, asphalt, and gray building, and gray, and gray, and gray, and gray, right? And a little snippet of it, what CF Pointe-Claire, what they're hoping to do here, what the developers are hoping to do, Cadillac Fairview's hoping to do, is build just a little slice of greenery along the area that's going to be near the REM. And of course, that development's been put in pause, right? In Pointe-Claire, it has been a huge debate. It has led to contentious council meetings and a lot of strife in that neck of the woods. So Tim Thomas is the mayor of Pointe-Claire. He joins us on the line now to discuss that development and the vision for the future and the densification of various parts of this city. Mayor Thomas, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here, Elias. Thanks for having me.
Everything in life is complicated. I'm well aware of that, Mayor Thomas. Having said that, you know, I look at the need for housing. The most important thing for me right now is people saying, Elias, I can't get rent. I'm being forced out. I can't find a decent place to live, including on the West Island. This is not just in downtown or Côte-des-Neiges. I'm hearing this everywhere, right? And the solution is to build more housing. And I see a whole bunch of efforts to stop that building and then people complaining that the cost of housing is going up. We need to square that circle. It seems to me like this development at Fairview Pointe-Claire could be a help in that respect. Tell me why maybe you don't view it the same way.
Okay, remind me of that question first. I want to correct a couple of things you said at first, Elias.
Sure. All the corrections coming from Pointe-Claire. You know, it's so funny. Can I just say something, Mayor Thomas? It doesn't matter if it's you or the other council members. This is how contentious it's become. I always get an email. I understand, but I'm always getting emails from people in Pointe-Claire about these issues over everything. So go ahead. What are your corrections?
Yeah, well, it's not part of the parking lot. It's all of the parking lot. And the development they want is two 25-story towers along with a downtown of Pointe-Claire development, a huge development that would take the entire parking lot, which would fundamentally alter the feeling, the karma, the quality of life of Pointe-Claire. Mm-hmm. Now, there's nothing wrong with densification. We would like, I mean, the La Presse article, they really got it wrong, which is unfortunate because people.
Yeah, I know.
He really got it. He got it completely wrong. The problem with there is no desire to prevent densification out here. What we would like to do is have densification that fits the community. In Pointe-Claire, we do not want to be Griffintown. Thank you, La Presse. Thank you, Montreal. But we look at Griffintown and we say this is butt ugly, and it's only for rich people, and it's unaffordable. And you and Montreal want us to become Mississauga.
So wait, how would you describe the parking lot? How would you describe the parking lot at Fairview Pointe-Claire?
Okay,
Some utopia?
Let's get to the parking lot. The parking lot, if you go there during the day, is always full. The reason the parking lot is always full is because out here in the West Island, we do not have this thing called the Metro. and we do not have sufficient public transit. So we rely on the car in the West Island. So the parking lot is there for the businesses to stay alive, which they succeed in doing because people can park there and go in and spend their money in the businesses. If Montreal gives us a metro or gives us a public transit system, north, south, and south.
You're getting a REM right there, right? I mean, the REM station is going right there.
Yeah, and the problem with it, Elias, is nobody's going to use it in Pointe-Claire because it's on the northern edge of our city, and we have the 40 and the 20 to traverse before we get to the REM, and we don't have the public transit, and we probably never will because we don't have the overpasses and underpasses, the 20 and the 40, to get the citizens of Pointe-Claire to the REM. So the REM will service whatever development Cadillac Fairview puts in up there, and that's hence the need for the 25-story towers in the downtown of Pointe-Claire, which the REM will service, but it won't service Pointe-Claire. So the issue here is, and the other thing, we're talking about affordable housing. I mean, you're talking about housing, but you forgot the word affordable. Mm-hmm. Now, people in Pointe-Claire can't afford to live in Pointe-Claire. So we have this housing going up.
And this will make it worse. This will not make it better. It's going to make it worse.
Unless we make it what we're trying to do, Elias, because we're a good, logical administration, or at least the people who support my vision are trying to do, is create housing where the citizens can actually live in Pointe-Claire and afford to live in Pointe-Claire. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is we have
less housing means houses get more expensive, by the way.
Level of 0 to 12-year-olds in the West Island. We don't have any families anymore in Pointe-Claire. They're leaving.
Yeah.
So we would like to keep the families, but they can't afford to live in Pointe-Claire. So we've built tons of housing. In the last 10 years in Pointe-Claire, we've densified more than anywhere in the West Island. And Pointe-Claire, all the citizens of Pointe-Claire go, how come not Beaconsfield? How come not Kirkland? How come not our Bay Durfee? How come nobody's densifying but us? And we've been densifying. We have huge developments all over Pointe-Claire. We have 2 huge towers going up right near the Cadillac Fairview site. We're densifying like crazy, and yet everybody's moving out of Pointe-Claire because they can't afford to live here.
But not everyone. But I mean, everyone's moving out of Pointe-Claire. All of those houses are full, right? It'd be one thing if the houses were empty, but then of course the market would rebalance itself, and those houses would get full again. So not everyone's moving out of Pointe-Claire. Somebody else is moving in. This is what happens in real estate.
The highest resale right now is in our latest development, the Sautremont development, which is behind the Manoir. It's called Greenwich, and it's huge amount of vacancies there. If you look on the available real estate, you will in Pointe-Claire, you'll note that a lot of the new developments are in desperate need of people to come into them. Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
but nobody can afford to live in them.
Sure, but then a developer would drop prices, an owner would drop prices. Like, I don't understand how the market won't work. I just don't understand how the market works everywhere else in the world. It couldn't possibly work in Pointe-Claire.
The market doesn't work everywhere else in the world, Elias. We have an affordable housing crisis in Quebec and in North America, where we need affordable housing, the missing middle. We need a whole section of housing to be built so that people afford to live in them. And there is a housing crisis because they're unaffordable. So from Pointe-Claire's perspective, all the families are moving Vaudreuil West because that's where they can live. And then sadly, the people that want to work at Cadillac Fairview can't live there. So that defeats the whole purpose of the TOD. And so everybody who wants to work in Fairview has to travel from Vaudreuil West. So
but do you think, Mayor Thomas, do you think 25 years from now, 50 years from now, there will be parts of the island of Montreal that cannot have to densify at the levels of everywhere else? Like, I know it's happening in Pointe-Claire. I get it. It's also happening downtown. It's happening in NDG. It's happening in Outremont. It's happening in the Mile X area. Like, densification is happening everywhere because people need places to live. And it's not my worry because it's not, what's happening in Pointe-Claire isn't affecting me per se. I don't live in the West Island. But my worry is that we're standing in the way of doing what we need to do in order to drop prices. To get affordability, we need units. And that's my worry here is, 25 years from now, it's going to be moot. There's going to have to be development anyways. So are you delaying the inevitable?
I'm not delaying anything. I would affordable housing and housing that the citizens of Pointe-Claire love, and we're eager to densify properly and in a way that the citizens will be pleased. We do not want Mississauga. Look at Griffintown, Elias. Do you like Griffintown? Because I sure don't like it.
Griffintown, as I've said on air.
Hear me out, Elias.
You asked me a question if I like Griffintown. I'm allowed to answer if you ask me a question, right?
Away. Do you like Griffintown, Elias?
So as I've said on the show, right? Griffintown, they made mistakes, right? They they didn't think about schools. They didn't think about parks. They made mistakes. But at the same time, at a period of intense economic growth, rents were more in check than they are now. And you have to wonder if that was a part of it. There has to be a balance, right? And I'm worried that we're now on the other end of that balance because Griffintown was so terrible. Now the reaction has been far greater than it needs to be to get to balance.
No, wrong. Everybody's trying to develop sanely in a sane manner. And the future now is to develop in a way that will keep the citizens who live in the places where the densification is occurring, will keep them happy, and they will enjoy what moves in around them. And you can do wonderful developments. I mean, there are projects, and I've been studying them in the States and the U.S., where they've learned this, and they've realized you don't bang up 25-story towers in a residential area where people have 2-story homes. You develop sanely. You look after the missing middle, which is anywhere from 3 to 10 stories. You duplexes, triplexes, townhouses. Do you know the most densified area in Montreal right now, Elias?
No, tell me.
The Plateau de Montréal.
Yeah, of course.
And there's not a building there above 3 stories.
Of course, and that's the story of Paris.
We can meet our TOD.
Mayor Thomas,
meet our TOD requirements.
It's the story of Paris. You don't need to be high in order to have density.
Exactly.
I totally get that.
So we're on the same page here, and that's where Cadillac Fairview has completely gone array. They're proposing 25-story buildings.
Yeah.
And we would say, sure, you can densify, you can do a development in Pointe-Claire. But we don't want 25-story buildings. We don't want a downtown. We don't want a Mississauga sitting on the edge of Pointe-Claire.
Mayor Thomas,
it's not our desire.
Mayor Thomas, I got to wrap this up here. I just wonder if Cadillac Fairview is just simply going to try and wait you out and get their way at the end of the day.
They are going to try and do that, but they won't succeed.
We'll see what happens. Mayor Thomas,
absolutely, Elias. I'm a betting man. We'll talk in a couple of years.
Come back real soon.